Hello, starting out solitary. Welcome back from the break. It is week 198, and we are talking about thoughts on sacred texts and what they are. So, paganism in general doesn't have a holy text like the Jewish Tanakh or the Islam and Muslim Quran. There are a lot of books that have been referenced throughout time. And I tend to think of those books more as historical references more than sacred texts. In modern neo-paganism, I think the only truly sacred text is entirely individual, represented by each individual person's own research and own study, and how they formulate that into their own version of Book of Shadows or their own reference book. But I am going to talk a little bit about different reference books that have been used throughout time. Now, one of the most known reference books is the witch hunter's guide that was used during the burning times, the Malleus Maleficarum, which was translated by Montague Summers in 1928 from its reference in 1486. Then there's, if you go further, you get stories of witchcraft from medieval to 17th century from The Sorceress, who was written by Jules Melcent and Alfred Richard Allison in 1939. Letters in Demonology and Witchcraft by William Scott. Letters of Demonology and Witchcraft by Sir Walter Scott in 1885. All of that to say this. Most of my references, as you can see from back there, are extremely varied. I have interest in herbalism and interest in natural medicine and very much so environmentally pagan. I believe that the earth provides for us, and so what reference materials I use are going to be drastically different from someone like Lippy, who's atheist, but also pagan, or Corvus Luggenikos, who has an entirely different brand of spirituality than me, and even into Rose and Pandora. Each of us have taken the time throughout our studies and combine together what references, materials, and what knowledge that we've learned throughout the time on our pathway. And I wouldn't say that we have any sacred text. I think for me, the most sacred text that I have is words of wisdom from old tribal leaders or outstanding environmentalists. For me, that's the compass in which I lead my life and the closest thing that I have to sacred text as far as my pathway goes. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think. What are some sacred texts that you feel, or how do you feel about sacred texts? I will talk to you guys next week when we are talking about how we found our patron and matron, which is an interesting story time, so make sure you have tea. Until next time, I'll see you here on Starting Out Solitary.